All right. Okay, so yesterday we talked about different forms of government. Okay, and what we used as a basis was geographic distribution of power. So remember, whether the power lies at the national level, the state local, the local level. Unitary, okay, confederal, and federal. And what a lot of people, and I have conversations with this outside of class, all right? So my lunch group, all right, Mr. Wagers and Mr. Huslig and Mr. Rock, okay? Sometimes Mr. Nielsen. Wagers really pays a lot of attention to politics and so forth, but a lot of people don't realize, what unitary system is versus federal system. In fact, I dare you to go ask your parents and ask them to define federalism. You'll get a blank stare because most Americans don't know the definition of federalism. So let me explain something to you people. Listen, if you don't know what it is, how do you know when somebody takes it away?
You don't.
So as we become more unitary, as more and more power is given to the national level, we take that away from the state and local people, from the decision making from the people, and give it to a small group of people, usually elitists, that think they're smarter than we are in Kansas because we're a bunch of, hayseeds and hicks that, read the Bible. Oh my gosh. Why wouldn't we let those people decide what they would do? That needs to be made by smart people that went to Ivy League schools and work in Washington, D.C. So federalism, guys, is that tug of war between power at the national and state and local level. And, right now the states are losing that battle. Okay, so this is something that I'm going to refer to a lot about federalism. Okay, but the next thing I want to move on to is different forms of government based on a different criteria now, based on the number of people that can participate. Okay, so different forms of government based on the number of people that can participate. All right, you might be able to figure out kind of where I'm going with this. All right, but we're going to start with dictatorships. All right, dictatorships can be confusing. Isaac, different forms of government based on the number of people that can participate. Okay, what confuses people about dictatorships is this. Most people think of dictator, they think of one person. Yes? You want to get on camera? Come on here. Follow me. Most people think of one individual. So they think of a dictator. Yes? But a dictatorship, guys, can be one or a few people. Does that make sense? Let me give you a definition, okay, that you can write down of dictatorship. Those who rule do not follow the will. Those who rule do not follow the will of the people. So, as you can imagine, there are different types of democracies. Dictatorships, okay? Different types of dictatorships. Can anybody name a dictatorship for me? Okay, well, that's a little too specific.
Fascism.
Okay, fascism can be a dictatorship, but fascism is too broad to be called a dictatorship.
Communism.
Not a dictatorship.
Fidel Castro.
Communism is an economic system of government.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that. Okay? Communism leads to dictatorship. But what type of dictatorships do you have within communism?
What's the one with the Kim Jong-un?
Okay. What does Kim Jong-un wear on a daily basis?
Clothes.
What kind of clothes?
Military
Military uniform.
Oh, wait.
So we would call this a military dictatorship.
Wait, we gotta write this down.
Okay? Fidel Castro wore military uniform. Okay, one guy that we're going to learn a lot about this semester, or we learned about a lot last semester. Remember Yalta? You had Churchill, Roosevelt, and a guy in a military uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Joseph Stalin. Okay?
Alright, gotcha.
Remember which one of these does not look like the other? Okay? Stalin. Okay, so you have military dictatorships. Now, the most prevalent type of dictatorship, guys, in the world, in world history, is go back to that divine right theory. Monarchies, yeah. Monarchies.
That's a dictatorship?
Yeah, absolutely. So, monarchies, how do you become one? A monarch.
You're born into it.
You're born, it's hereditary.
Kill someone, I guess.
Well, you could, but usually it's through lineage, right? Through blood. Okay? So you have military dictatorship, monarchy. Have you ever heard of an autocracy? Okay.
Can you tell us?
Well, an autocracy could be a monarchy. Auto meaning what?
That's not the third one.
Yeah, you can. It's a characteristic. An autocracy is ruled by one. Okay. So Stalin was an autocrat. Okay. Kim Jong-un is an autocrat.
Hitler.
The king of Saudi Arabia, who's a monarch, is an autocrat.
What about Hitler?
Hitler was an autocrat. Then you have what are called oligarchies. Oligarchies. Let me spell that for you. O-L-I-G-A-R-C-H-Y. Oligarchy. Now, as opposed to autocracy, you have an oligarchy. Any idea what that would mean?
Rule
by a few.
Very good. Rule by a few. How did you get that? Latin? You
Well,
guessed?
Because
I've heard
autocracy is
all
ruled by
these
one,
before.
so I figured.
Okay. All right. So, can anybody name an oligarchy where you rule by a few people?
England.
No.
Parliament. Parliament.
Listen, Parliament is more than a few. There's many representatives that are elected. That's not a dictatorship.
The Kennedy.
Now you have, what you have in England, okay, or the United Kingdom, is what's called a constitutional monarchy. They still have a queen, okay, but the queen has no power. The power lies with the Constitution and the Parliament. Does that make sense?
Okay, so.
Okay, so oligarchy. Anybody?
Be like if someone like a coup came in over to the government, they didn't know who was the
No,
leader.
no. Think of dictatorships, but you don't know the name of the leader.
Russia.
Okay, today Russia is not. Basically, Russia today is like a mobocracy.
China.
China is the one. Okay, China we know is a communist dictatorship, right? They are ruled by whom?
So can we put China on?
Yeah, the Communist Party. Okay, 1.3 billion people in China, right?
Yep. Yep.
Less than 1% of that 1.3 billion are members of the Communist Party. It's a very small group of people that elect one of their own to become the dictator or the leader. Okay?
What is Japan?
Japan is a unitary system of government with a prime minister, so they have a parliamentary system of government.
So like if we lived over there, it wouldn't be like a threat.
It'd be more like England than the United States.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Think about movies I've seen where people move to Japan. Wolverine.
Okay. It's very crowded.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
It'd be cool.
It's a relatively free society.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. Like I could opposed to as opposed to China. It'd be,
Much more freedom in Japan than China. Absolutely. Okay. So, now, we get into different types of dictatorships. We talk about descriptions of dictatorships like totalitarian. What's totalitarian mean? Write that down, totalitarian.
So, is this like
This is a characteristic of a dictatorship.
character?
Totalitarian means that it controls every aspect of life. Okay? So let me give you an example. North Korea is a totalitarian regime. Okay, they control every aspect of life. They control all the media. They control all the information. Okay, China is not as totalitarian because you have more economic freedom in China than you do in North Korea. So, like in China, you can actually start your own business. All right, there is some economic freedom there. Now, as far as religion goes, the Chinese really kind of crack down on religion, period. Doesn't really matter what religion it is. Okay? Although Christianity is spreading in China. It's spreading in China faster than anywhere else in the world. It's the fastest growing religion in China is Christianity. Okay? So, but they are still oppressed. But you can practice Christianity without, being killed in China. So, is it totalitarian? Somewhat, but not near as bad. Other totalitarian regimes. Hitler was totalitarian. Stalin was totalitarian. Okay, controlled every aspect of life. You talk about the Hitler Youth, the education curriculum, all that stuff was controlled. Okay, money, business. Okay, so fascism, as you said, fascism is a totalitarian government. Okay. Now, when you talk about fascism, and you guys that have had me before, we've had these talks on fascism. It's hard to define. It can be temporary. Fascism can be temporary. All right? Hitler's fascism was different than any other fascism we've seen before. Okay? Because it was based on racial ideology and so forth. Okay?
Nice.
You need some help there? I got you. All right, so one more that we haven't talked about today, a type of dictatorship. I need to drop some hints here. Earlier this week, they captured a couple of boats.
Theocracy.
A theocracy. Okay, and there's not many of these. In fact, I can scratch my head a little bit and think of only one.
What do we call ISIS?
Iran. I am not personally going to recognize the Islamic State yet as a legitimate sovereign state yet.
I mean, they wouldn't be great. Oh, it kind of would be, but
I will not give them diplomatic recognition.
okay. Question: theocracy ruled by
Religion or religious leaders. Okay, I'd say religious leaders. Okay, and in Iran, guys, what do we call these people? What are they? There's a name for these.
terrorists.
The Ayatollahs. The Ayatollahs. Okay, Ayatollah Khomeini is the spiritual leader of Iran. Okay, and he pulls the strings. So, like you said, if Father Ben, you said, what type of government does the school have? If Father Ben was the ultimate arbiter of justice and decision making, then we would have a theocratic school. Okay? I don't think we're quite there. But some priests have had more pull, you might say, than others. I mean, all they really have to do is put their foot down, right? I think Father Ben could run the show if he wanted to put his foot down. I don't think Father Ben wants to do that. Do you?
He wants to have fun.
It's been nice getting to know him. We had a good retreat on Monday. We went up to Pilsen. Did any of your teachers talk about this?
Yeah.
Heard about it.
Ms. Peck talked about it?
Talk about it for 5 hours.
Okay, that's not a bad thing. It was really, I mean, it was really neat. If you get a chance to go up there, have any of you guys been up there?
Yeah.
I mean, Father Capon is, I mean, what was a pretty amazing guy. I mean, what he went through and what he did, I was really blown away, personally, okay? I took some pictures. You remember when I taught about the Korean War?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that into my this year's lecture on the Korean War. I know. But they had a picture, they had the actual Congressional Medal of Honor medal in the museum there. Took a good picture of it. Pretty neat. What's that?
You got?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he didn't get it.
I mean,
most of those are given posthumously.
I mean,
They're dead.
Okay, well, he got it though.
He did. His family got it.
Yeah. They just gave it to him.
Okay, one more. I just want to mention one more thing about that. While they were in captivity in the prisoner of war camp, the Chinese were in charge of the camp. Okay, and the commandant, if you will, of the prison camp did not let Father Capon wear his helmet with the cross on it. So Father Capon put it over by the dump. Okay, where they would throw their trash and stuff. And so every day people had to go over to the dump to throw stuff away, and that helmet was always there. One of the guys that was in captivity that survived, before he left the camp, he went over to that helmet, and it was the interior part of the helmet, so you could break it. There was two liners, one or a liner and then the helmet. And so he took his boot and crushed the helmet and broke away the little piece that had the cross on it, okay, and slid it into one of his bandages, because you weren't allowed to take stuff out. Slid it into one of his bandages and brought it home, and that's at Cape and Mount Carmel High School, okay, as one of the relics of. Which I thought was a really neat story. But it gave everybody a reminder they saw the cross every day when they went over to the dump. Pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
When we went to Washington for our choir trip,
Mhm.
we went to the Korean War Memorial.
Yes.
And they have him on the wall, like
Oh.
with the other chaplains.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, he was amazing. So I'm very pleased with Father Green's first retreat for the faculty. The last few years, it's been, really dry. Like you guys have to do sometime. Listen to somebody talk for 3 hours. Not really my idea of a retreat, personally, but it was good. It was cold, but it was nice. Okay, one last thing on dictatorships, guys. They are all of them are authoritarian. All of them are authoritarian by nature, okay? And then I'm going to give you a different definition of authoritarian. Which is pretty short and sweet, okay? Power is absolute and unchangeable. Power is absolute and unchangeable. Okay, so staying on this theme of different forms of government based on how many can participate, we're going to democracy. Okay, democracy. I'm going to give you a definition. Now, a basic definition is, that you get a rule of the people, okay? But I'm going to give you a little bit more than that, okay? Supreme political authority. So supreme political authority or sovereignty that we've talked about in here, right? The right to rule, sovereignty. Supreme political authority, sovereignty rests with the people.
Was it like back in the day with the Greeks? Was that the ones that had democracy?
Yep. That's where we get this demos.
wasn't it ruled by like a Senate though? Didn't they have their Senate?
Yeah.
And were they elected by the people?
Right, so that would be the republic.
Oh.
Okay, but the ideas of democracy do go back to the Greeks. Yeah. So you have direct democracy, and you have representative democracy. Direct and representative. Direct democracy is known as a pure democracy. Now, I kind of brought this up, I think, the first day of class, and saying that, I tried to fool you guys and say, so we all live in a democracy, right? And you guys, probably caught on to that a little bit, I think. But yeah, so this can be effective in a small place, in a city or a town where everybody has a voice, right? And so you can ferret out those issues amongst a small group of people that are not elected, that every person has a say. But how would democracy work in a country of 330 million people? Now, it is actually possible today with our technology. I was going to get out my phone, but it's over there. But you've got your phone out. Okay, so hold that up. Hold that up. Okay? So if the government gave everybody a phone, like in France, if you can't afford a refrigerator, they'll buy one for you. So the government gives everybody a phone. Hey, we already do that, don't we? Can't you get free phones from the government? If you haven't heard about Obama phones? Oh my gosh, people! Yeah, if you ever drive down into the the hood a little bit, I've seen these things up in Wichita that have a tent and they say free phones. Okay, so you have to prove that you're poor, and then you can get a free phone, and the government pays for it. This goes back to like the 1960s, where people couldn't afford a landline, and so if they had an emergency, you go 911. You at least have a phone. So there was a government program set up to allow people to get money to get a landline in their house for emergencies. Well, that has been transferred now onto cell phones. Okay, and the whole program is being abused. Okay, people have multiple phones, instead of buying their own and paying for it, they're using the government. But anyhow, let's just say the government buys everybody a phone, and then there's an app that every morning, anybody in the United States that wants to, that's of voting age, 18, can open that app, and there's going to be a list of things to vote on. And you just read through that, and you vote yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, and you vote on it. And whatever 51% of the people say is what happens.
That would be cool.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I feel like that could turn
Think
out
about
really
it,
badly.
You don't have that many.
You can
drive
say what
you
happens
can
so
say
much,
that's
you
a
don't
bad
trust
democracy.
me.
You
Make murder legal by doing that.
You cannot make murder legal.
What?
No, but
I
there's
would
people
not,
who
but
don't.
like
There's, we have so
other
many
people
dumb people in this
could, yeah.
country. Are you kidding me? Why do we elect smart people? It's
Like, I
because-
saw this video, 2 weeks ago,
We would
and
have
there
some
was this guy
kids
walking around,
voting.
3 or 4 college campuses, and he had a petition, and he was asking, he's like, hey, would you sign my petition to repeal the First Amendment? And, he got, 1,000 signatures on
It's
it.
because
It's
people don't care. Like,
yeah.
there's people that don't pay attention to that. Like,
Yes.
they don't-
Yes. Guys.
Agrabah is a real place.
Look, you said that would be awesome. Those were your words.
Yeah, it
You said that would be
It
awesome.
would though.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't.
Guys,
Listen.
It would be
listen,
awesome,
hey,
but
seriously,
it's
you want PJ to be making decisions for the rest of us?
No, I don't. PJ's vote wouldn't count.
Okay.
Everybody can do it.
No, it would.
See, the thing
Now,
is,
this
there's
What if he's the tiebreaker?
This is going to come off as elitist, okay? Okay, it's going to sound elitist, but listen, have you ever been, I know you're in some honors classes, are you in
Yeah.
some regular classes?
Yep.
Okay, so do you pay attention to the amount of knowledge that some of your classmates have?
Yep.
Okay, now
They're
I
all
want
very
you to
smart.
think about those people, and you want them to have the same voice, okay, as you.
Maybe only the smart people get the app.
Oh, yeah, so we have aptitude tests now.
Yeah,
for
you do get
voting.
an aptitude
Yes,
test.
yes.
That sounds like the ACT.
No, we can't do that. We can't do that.
Like
oh,
PJ would
there's
be in it.
PJ.
PJ would
I see how it is.
Top
Okay,
10,
so-
top 10%.
Here, listen, the founders of this country, okay, feared democracy. They called it the mobocracy, okay? Listen, people act irrationally, all right? And all you have to do is pay attention to the world around you, and you can see that there's no way you would want a lot of these people making decisions for the rest of us, okay? This is why we choose a different path. You choose a representative democracy. Now, technology would actually make it possible to have a direct democracy today, okay? But it's a ludicrous idea. It's crazy, all right? Because people don't pay attention, they're not educated, so we elect people, are you listening? We elect people that are educated, that know history, that pay attention to what's going on to make decisions for us. We elect representatives. Now, how's that working out? Well, 230 plus years later, we're doing pretty good with this. All right, are things perfect? No, but as Churchill said, okay, democracy is the worst form of government of all, except for all the rest. Okay, so what we've tried to choose is a government that would work best. And this, again, this goes back to everything that we're going to study this in this first section, guys, is the why. Not the how it works, but the why. Why do we have this form of government? Why did we choose this? Why did the Madisons, the Washingtons, the Jeffersons, the Hamiltons, why did these guys choose this form? And it's because of history. It's because of knowledge of what would work best. What political philosophy? Have any of you guys started reading your different social contract theories yet? Okay, and they're very different, yes? But what are they mostly a study of? Human nature, right? Look at man and say, what form of government is best to rule over those people? Over human beings, right? Because human beings are rational, but sometimes irrational. You know, sometimes we're good, sometimes we're bad. Sometimes we're really bad, aren't we? I'm not saying about you guys, I'm talking about human beings in general,
I
right?
got a question for you.
Okay.
The Purge.
Okay.
Have you heard about, do you know that?
The Purge.
Purge?
Are you talking, where are you talking about? Russia?
The movie.
Oh.
Like, all crime is legal for 12 hours.
Oh, no.
Would you want that?
No.
What if you got money, like we've all got money, we can make our houses safe. Have you ever seen those movies?
Why would you want to do that?
Well, the idea is because all crime's legal for 12 hours, then like there's no point in committing a crime the rest of the year. So like,
Yeah.
so crime rates go way down.
You do whatever you want.
For
12 hours
people
once a year.
dying
I
and
feel like
stuff
it's the
and
worst day of my life.
But like,
I
the
would
thing is,
hide
it's in
under
the
my
future, so
bed.
all this stuff's going down, and they've got like the houses
Yeah,
are all
people
have
have
security,
time,
big
like-
security systems and stuff like that.
Okay.
I would
I
hide
don't-
in a corner of
So
my bed.
if you violate a crime other than during those 12 hours, what happens to you?
Well,
It's like the normal.
it's-
It's like the normal punishment.
Huh?
It's the normal.
Oh, well, then why do it? Now, if you're going to execute people on the spot for committing a crime outside of those 12 hours, then okay, maybe I'll go with you. But other than that, I think this idea is stupid. Okay? Let's get back to representative democracy, okay? All right, so
All right, Vivek.
as I kind of just explained, guys, in a representative democracy, a small group of people are chosen. A small group of people are chosen to represent the will of the rest. A small group of people are chosen by the people to represent the will of the rest. Okay? And this, my friends, is called a republic. A representative democracy is a republic,
Which is what we have.
which is what we have. Okay? Now, I can make it even more confusing.
Oh.
Okay?
Start a new page.
We're done with the direct democracy, guys. This is not going to happen. Okay? French Revolution, study that. And look at Rousseau
Yeah.
in your reading. Okay? Direct democracy.
He's the guy that
How'd that work out?
agreed with the
Oh my gosh. You have a warped mind, my friend.
I'm a whatever super right wing guy or whatever that is.
Yeah, well, you might be leaning toward the fascists. I'm not sure. Okay.
I,
What about individual anarchy?
No. No! Are you talking about freedom, individual anarchy?
kind of.
Well, I mean, it's here in the scale.
Okay.
After reactionary,
Yeah.
individual anarchist.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And the government can't tell me what to do.
Well,
Okay. Which leans a little bit towards libertarianism, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I think the government-
Hey, let's get back on, because I'm recording this for my other students, so.
They need to know what they're missing in class.
Yeah.
Well, I know, they're getting some of this.
They need to
Okay.
do that. So.
All right, now, with this, we're going to talk about two different systems. How many systems? Two. One,
Start a new page.
okay? The first is, let's start with, let's talk about presidential government. Or presidential system. And parliamentary system.
Two different systems.
Now leave some space after presidential.
How many space?
Couple lines. Okay? Now, so your presidential system is what we have. Okay? Now, you have three branches of government.
We need to write this down.
Not necessarily. Okay, guys, we have something called separation of powers. Okay, now President Obama was once Senator Obama. Yes, from what state?
Seattle.
Illinois. That's a city.
I was trying to.
He's from Illinois. Goodness gracious.
I didn't want
Senator Obama from Illinois, okay, was elected president in 2008. So he's going over to the executive branch. President Obama. Can he stay here and do both?
No, he cannot.
No, he cannot. Because of a separation of powers. Okay? The legislature and the executive are separate. You need to write that down. The legislature and the executive are separate. They are independent. Are you doing government now or history, PJ?
That's true.
Okay. So you've already learned this. Parliamentary versus presidential? This is a building block, by the way, for this class. You need to remember this, okay? I'll refer back to this. All right, so the three branches are supposed to be co-equal and separate, okay? Co-equal and separate. In a presidential system, who elects the president?
The people.
Is it the legislature that elects the president?
What did he say?
No. Who elects the president?
We do.
The Electoral College through the people. Okay? So the people in a presidential system elect the president.
Where does the electoral college fall into that?
Well, we elect the Electoral College, they elect the president.
So would they be in the executive branch then?
They are not in a branch of government. They are a party, political party entity okay, that the parties choose the electors, we elect the electors, and they cast the actual vote for president and vice president. Yes.
So can the electoral college like overrule what? So we all individually vote for your president.
We vote for the electors. Can they change their vote? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And that gets back to that representative democracy. Okay, it's not a democracy. We don't have a direct election of the president and vice president. Why? Because the people
Can be
how
wrong.
stupid.
fill in the blank. Okay. Now, one other thing on presidential system. Okay, if aliens came from Mars and they showed up and said, "Take me to your leader," who would you take them to?
Not Obama.
No, we take them to Obama.
To the president. Okay? To the president. The president is, in a presidential system, the president is two things. As we're going to learn this later on in the class. The president wears a lot of different hats.
President.
Okay, but the president is both head
Head
of
of
state
state.
and chief executive.
Yep.
So he is the figurehead of the country,
He's the CEO.
and he runs the executive branch. Okay? You following? Now, who is the head of state in England?
Parliament.
Who's the figurehead?
Oh,
The Queen. Aha! So this is where we get into parliamentary system. The chief executive is the prime minister. Okay, so now we're going to start to see the differences. So in a presidential system, which we are, we're one of the few that have presidential systems. Okay, most countries have that are republics. Okay, are parliamentary systems. And I kind of wish sometimes that we were parliamentary systems.
So the head of state is
It's more fun, huh?
The head of state is the monarch. And the,
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I'll put all that up here. This eraser, these boards really stink.
Like you might as well just use a tissue.
Yeah, that's not much better. What if I spit on it?
it's a dry erase.
Yeah, dry. All right, so we're going to go legislative, executive, judicial. And we're talking about parliamentary systems here. Okay? Now, this is way I best describe this, okay? In England, you must be an MP
What's that?
in order to become PM.
MP.
Not military police.
Become prime minister.
What's an MP?
Minister of a province.
Masculine.
Nice try. Bad try.
Miss P.
Okay, stop. Use your intelligent brains for a second.
Minister-
Stop it. The legislative branch in England is called the what?
Parliament.
Parliament. Thank you.
Member of Parliament.
Member of Parliament.
Good.
Hey.
Prime Minister. Member of Parliament.
Okay, you must be a member of Parliament in order to become the Prime Minister. Because who elects the Prime Minister?
Parliament.
Parliament. So are the executive and legislature separate and independent of each other in a parliamentary system?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
They are linked. Okay? Guys, there's not much more better political theater than watching the House of Commons in England. Okay? So there's a desk. All right, let's see. On one side of the House of Commons, you have the liberals. On the other side of the House of Commons, you have the conservatives. All right, it's kind of a long room. It runs like this, okay? So the prime minister, who is a member of parliament, stands up in front of all of Parliament. Okay, and you got these people wearing wigs over here, and I don't know what's going on. Okay. So the Prime Minister gets up and starts talking and sharing his opinion about what's going on and what the legislation should be and so forth. Well, as soon as he sits down, the opposition leader of the other party is right across from him. Okay? So he stands up, okay, and starts going right back at the Prime Minister. Okay, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but right off the side of the House of Commons, there's a door. You go through the door, and there's a bar, or I should say a pub, attached to the House of Commons, which members can go into and partake before they come on the floor.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
That is not a good idea.
As I said, political theater. Because this guy, the opposition leader, will get up and call out the Prime Minister. And just, we'll say nasty things about him, make fun of him. You have to be, as a Prime Minister, guys, you have to be fast on your feet. You have to be witty and smart. Okay? Did any of you guys catch any of the State of the Union last week? Okay, so the President stands up in front of both houses of Congress. You got the Vice President and the Speaker of the House behind him. Okay? Everybody's so polite. Or they just sit on their butt and not clap. Nobody says anything. The President has the floor. It's all staged. He's got teleprompters. The speech is written for him. There are applause lines. Okay? And when the Prime Minister gets up in the House of Commons, guys, it's a back and forth. So they call on a member over here, and he gets up and starts yelling at them, and then they start booing when the Prime Minister says something. Oh, it's great political theater. When we wrap up here, I'll show you a little clip, okay? Some of the funnies from the House of Commons. How much time do we have?
5 minutes.
Okay. Let me finish parliamentary system here real quick. All right. So, in a parliamentary system, the head of state.
Head of state. Is that in the judicial?
No, nothing to do with this. Don't worry about that. The head of state and the chief executive, as I just explained, are separate. Okay? Now, in Britain, we know this is the Queen, right? We've established this. Queen. Okay? Let's talk about Germany. Now, Germany doesn't call its chief executive the Prime Minister. What do they call him?
I don't know, but it's Angela Merkel.
Angela Merkel is what? What is her title?
Chancellor?
Chancellor. Okay? Okay. Okay. That's all right. So this would be Chancellor or Prime Minister. Some countries call it the Premier. Okay? Now, in Germany, did you know they have a president?
Yeah.
The president in Germany is the head of state. Angela Merkel, the Chancellor, runs the day-to-day affairs. She's the chief executive. That's where the power lies. The president's just a figurehead. Does that make sense? Okay. The Queen doesn't really do much, but she is a figurehead. She's also part of kind of what holds together what's known as the Commonwealth of England. These used to be colonies of England that England retains relationship with, like Canada, okay, a lot of African countries, the Commonwealth, the British English Commonwealth, all right? And so she goes and visits those countries, and but she really has no major role.
Cool.
Okay? All right, so there you go.
All right, cool.
The next thing we're going to talk about, but we're going to watch a movie in the next 3 days.
Oh, I got wait. So we're watching a movie Monday.
Monday, I think I'm going to teach, unless the movie's